Good morning, YouTube. We're in Nogales, so we're going to fly south to, hang on, I have it pulled up here. Hermosillo. It's not any place that I'm very familiar with or anything like that. We have little information to go on as well. SkyVector doesn't provide the information for these sites that are south of the U.S., or at least not all of them. So I have very little information. I'm hoping that the GTN-750 here will provide me with some info that I can't get on the website. And what I didn't do was just go and search the airport itself. I'm just going by SkyVector, and then since I have no information there, just going with GTN-750. There probably would be other websites out there that would provide the information that I need, but I just want to see how much info the GTN-750 has, so I didn't specifically look. So before I actually do an approach, well, yeah, I'll go ahead and put one in, but yeah, I'll do 5. For now, what I want to look at now is whether or not I can get ATIS information for that airport. So I'm just going to go here, click on the airport. Frequencies, ATIS 127.70.
Sierra Vista Muni Libby AAF information Charlie. 1700 Zulu weather.
Alright, so that won't kick in for a while. And I think the nav point, the nav radio for that, I have to zoom in here, 112.8. But that won't pop up for a while as well. We're quite a ways out there from this airport, about an hour, at least an hour away. Rotating.
Traffic.
Landing and taxi off. Flaps up. See, we'll do the autopilot. Nav. And if I can get the, come on. So, HMO. That's the name of the waypoint. Um, I do have it programmed into the radio stack here, but I'm also just going to put in the waypoint name here, and that should give us some information. So we are at KOLS. Alright, let me look at the power. Right there's the sweet spot. I am going to back this down to 7. See if we can't pick up some speed. The plane just sounds like it's bogging down a little bit. And I adjusted the mixture. Right there is about best I can give it right now. I'll climb to 7,000, level off, gain some speed, and then kind of ascertain as to whether or not I need to fly higher. But based off of what I'm seeing here, it looks like 7,000 will be alright. So we'll do an altitude hold there and just eyeball it for now. Not sure about those yet, but again, I'm looking at this and it's low, so we might need to increase our altitude a little bit more, but we'll see. KOLS. I was hoping I could flip those. Alright, well, we'll delete this one. And then add HMO. Backing down the throttle a little bit since it's on the needle, on the red line. Looks like those off to our left would be a little bit of a problem. But we're flying by it. And then we see this greener area. So it'll be alright. Right here is close. Here is close. Yeah, I'm not sure why SkyVector doesn't provide much information. It might be an international thing, you know, or yeah. But in some instances, it just doesn't provide any information for certain airports, which is disappointing. I mean, now in the U.S., it seems like, you know, I'm cracking my neck. That's why we're tilting that way. In the U.S., it seems like every airport is listed, but anything south of the U.S., no, not necessarily. And since this was a little bit of a longer flight, over an hour en route, I was thinking or contemplating using the Cirrus Vision SF50, and as much as I like that aircraft, I like the Cessna better. So I decided to go ahead and do it with this one. Plus, I had, you know, made these changes. The you see the yellow stripe on the dash there, and the red. I kind of wanted to experience those colors, and so I went ahead and flew this aircraft. And I knew I could get more information out of the GTN-750, which is why I chose using that over the G1000 or the G530. I wasn't certain I could get ATIS information using the G1000. Now, I did want to use the G1000, but I didn't modify the cockpit for the G1000. It would have been red, but there would have been no yellow stripe. So I know I'm well into the flight. I mean, there's a long way to go, and what I wanted to look at was the flight plan and the elevation. So when I get to Iluta, 4,000 feet, looks like. $2,200 by the time we reach this one. I wonder why that says 20 nautical miles. That seems incorrect. Unless it just doesn't have the enough area there to put a 1. It looks like it should. but this is the correct number, 121. The waypoint name is HMO. But these numbers are wrong. 10 minutes and 23 nautical miles. And that looks like it's taking us to roughly the same place. So I don't know. I don't know. So we'll ignore this one. It is incorrect. HMO. What if I just put in the airport name, MMHO? Hermosillo. That is the name of the waypoint as well. Well, and it says 142 nautical miles. Oh, you know what? Because it's doing a direct to that one. There we go. That information still seems wrong. We got 115. This says 112. Well, it's going to be a little different. It's going to vary a little bit because of we have an approach set for the one on the top, and that one is just flying us directly to the waypoint. Or not really flying us directly to the waypoint, but calculating directly to the waypoint. That makes more sense. The other one being the distance to, or that we've flown from the airport initially before I set it direct to HMO. Nothing out here. Okay, so I think that's the trail for the traffic that I'm seeing. Of course, now that we're outside the aircraft, I don't see it. Oh well, I was trying to spot this traffic. Not doing a very good job at it. It's over there near those mountains, but what I don't know is whether or not it's flying at, 30, 40,000 feet, or whether or not it's a helicopter or some low flyer. Let's see, does it give altitude information? What if I zoom in on it? Like that plus 20, does that mean plus 20,000 feet? I don't even see it on here anymore. And there's like nothing out here. This is where we're at. There's the United States, and we're south of it, flying south here. Probably flying a little along the coast a little bit, flying down here. And I don't know how long. I think we might be jumping over here at some point, going on this side, and then we can fly over to these islands. So maybe a little further south over here, perhaps, and then over here. I'll have to see. I have some flights already written down, but I don't remember what track I decided to take. But yeah, likely south like that, down into that area, and then back up. I mean, that sounds like a good plan, and if that's not what I did, then I might change it to something like that. Look at all that red. It's a lot of red. Still not much to see. I've been watching this show called Alone. It's on Vancouver Island. I'm guessing that's Vancouver Island right there. So within another 10 miles, we should be able to hear from ATIS regarding which runway we can land at. I programmed runway 5. We might have to change it to runway 23. But we'll see. As far as wind direction, I don't feel as though I'm experiencing much. I could have a headwind or a tailwind and it could be pushing me along, but directionally I don't feel like I'm flying against any crosswinds this morning. The skies seem clear. Weather seems good. We are flying the real world weather conditions. Match real world conditions, but the weather is clear, so we're doing good. As far as speed, I've got a speed of about 130 knots, and our ground speed is matching that 130, 132. So it's almost like there's no winds whatsoever, or they're so negligible it doesn't matter. So I'm hoping we can land at runway 5, not have to worry about switching it to runway 23. I've got some coffee brewing in the pot. I'll probably get up in a minute and tend to that. But other than that, everything's looking good. Another 32 minutes left in the flight. 56 nautical miles. I am looking forward to hearing what ATIS has to say about this airport. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Help build the channel. If you got any comments, please leave them. I periodically do change the color of the dash here and there. I've had a yellow one, red one. You know, I've made it a little darker. I've used the John Fly Carbon Edition. But if you got a comment as to what color you might like to see, and if it's a possibility of a range of colors that I could change it to, I'll certainly give it a shot. I'll probably mix it up, change it around from time to time, do different things with it, just to, because it's more interesting than looking at the same default cockpit all the time. The seats, I still have them as red right now, and the trim red, seatbelt strip, and all that is still red. I could change that as well, you know, make the dash and the seats match. Alright, we'll likely hear from ATIS here in a minute. I'm going to step away from the computer for just a second. I'll be right back.
Sky clear, temperature 15, dew point -8. Altimeter 2999. Arriving runway 05, departing runway 05. Advise on initial contact, you have Charlie.
Well, that's excellent news. Runway 5, 2999. I've switched the altimeter to 2999. I had my altitude hold for 7,000 feet. It looks like after changing the altimeter, the aircraft compensated, and we've gained altitude of 7,000 again. Got 29 minutes left in the flight, 49.5 nautical miles. I'm going to listen to ATIS once more. Wind is calm.
1800 Zulu weather.
Visibility 10.
Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 15. Dew point -8. Altimeter 2999.
Right. So, I was correct on the winds. I mean, I knew the weather was clear, but just based off of the position of the aircraft and the flight path, I just didn't get any sign or indicator that, there was no bumpy, there was no turbulence, anything to indicate that there was anything with the winds. So I didn't think that there was an issue with the winds. It's good to hear that the winds are calm, and it's good to find out I can land at the programmed runway. And the coffee wasn't done yet, so I'm giving it a couple more minutes. Sounds like it's finishing up right now. "24 nautical miles. Coffee is done. I've got a fresh cup now, and yeah, I used to make coffee every morning, you know, but I think I got to the point where I felt as though I was wasting filters, and so now I brew about as much as I can at a time. So 12 cups, you know, I fill the carafe up with water and then just make a full pot every single time, and then I dump that into a thermos and drink that throughout the week. Just nuke it in the microwave, and it tastes pretty good. I never think to myself, oh, this tastes awful, or it tastes any worse than it did the day before. So I kind of take the lazy man's approach to it these days. But right after it's freshly brewed, that does usually seem to be when the coffee is at its best. So we are at 7,000, and if my memory serves me correctly, it was either 4,000 or 4,400 that I needed to be at for the initial fix. Oh, that's weird. So each time I click on it, I get information. Okay. Alright. So let me go over here with my flight plan just to refresh my memory. 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet, and 2,200 feet. That was me taking a sip of coffee. It blocks that infrared signal and just messes it up. So at about 10 miles from the initial air fix, I'll descend to 4,000 feet. Actually, I think I'll just go ahead and start a slow descent, about 500 feet per minute. I'll back the throttle back just a little bit to try to maintain about 130 knots. And we'll watch the altitude indicator to make sure we don't drop below 3,000 or 4,000. Almost at 5,000. 18 nautical miles remaining before the first initial air fix. 4,500. 4,000 feet. I think I'm going to drop to 3,000 feet. And that way I'll only have to worry about the 1,200 feet to the final air fix. So if we have a look at this, we look at the flight plan, I should be at 4,000 feet. Let me move this over so I can see the altitude indicator. And then the next fix is 3,000 feet. I'm just going to go ahead and drop to 3,000 feet right now. And then I only have to worry about being at 2,200 feet so the approach will work. So I'll just drop the 1,200 feet when I'll probably start dropping to 2,200 feet when I'm at the initial air fix, and then we'll just bypass the 3,000 altogether. We'll be at the assigned altitude for the approach by the time we hit the final air fix, and that's what that FAF stands for, final air fix. We are just a couple hundred shy of 3,000. I'm going to get ready to do an altitude hold. I know I just sit here with my hand over the button, but if I don't, I'll forget to pay attention to it and drop well below 3,000. Alright, altitude hold at 3,000. I'll probably give it some more throttle to keep us at maximum speed. I won't overspeed or go into the red for the RPM. Sorry, I'm itching my ear. That involves moving my headset, which is sitting on top of the hat that has the infrared thingy on it. Looks like we're 7 miles from the initial fix. And then once we hit that initial fix right there, that's where we need to be at 4,000 feet, which we are at 3, and we need to be at 3,000 feet by the time we hit this fix. We're already there, and we need to be at 2,200 feet by the time we hit this fix. So it's no issue. It's just, you know, what the GPS is telling us. It thinks the altitude should be for those fixes. And the GPS, I don't think the GTN-750 would automatically reduce me to those altitudes. I think it only takes over once it's localized for the approach. That's when it starts taking over and doing the altitudes. Now the G1000, if I were using it, and and I'll probably try to do it on the next flight. I would try to use the vertical navigation feature in order to have arrived at these altitudes for the autopilot to do it for me, as opposed to me manipulating it or flying it manually. So the winds are probably still calm, but I'm going to go ahead and switch the comm radio here just to hear the ATIS one more time for the runway, for the airport.
Ignacio P. Garcia INTL Information X-ray. 1800 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 13. Dew point -7. Altimeter 3000. Arriving runway 05. Departing runway 05. Advise on initial contact, you have X-ray.
Alright, so the information has changed a little bit. Winds are light and variable. They went from alpha to X-ray as far as the information, and altimeter changed from 2999 to 3000, so I adjusted the knob there to give us 3000 on the altimeter. The autopilot has compensated for the reduction or addition in feet changes. We have bypassed the initial fix and are on our way to, no, we're almost to the initial fix, and I'll begin the descent to 2200 feet somewhere when we're closer to the next fix. I could potentially just do a slow descent. I'll do that. I'll do 200 feet per minute, and we'll be closer to 1200 by the time we hit that third fix. So we've just intercepted the first, or the initial fix. We are not localized. We probably won't get localized until we're on that final fix. We could get localized here, but it's unlikely. It'll probably be that one. Just amazing how much nothing there is out here to see. It's just like all dry and I think that notification just means I am so many 100 feet below whatever altitude it thinks I should be at, or too high above it or something. I think that's why it notifies me like that, but I'm not 100% on that. Alright, and I'm going to speed up our rate of descent here a little bit. We're almost there. We're still not localized. We'll probably not be localized till that next one. We are localizing now. Okay. About the time I said it. That's okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an altitude hold, because I want to fly into this. Once I see that needle moving, well, we're already on the approach according to this. So I'm going to disengage the altitude hold. Alright, I am going to back the speed down just a tad, not a lot, but a little bit. Turn the landing and taxi lights on. I do see the runway in front of me here. And the next thing I'm looking for the aircraft to do is descend. So I'll be watching this needle right there just to see, and also the vertical speed indicator to see if it takes a dip from 0 to 5. And then once it does, I'll start extending the flaps and slowing the aircraft down some more. Looks like we're descending a little bit, but I still haven't seen the needle move on VOR1 at all. I mean, if it's moving, yeah, it's moving. I see it now. Alright, so we'll be descending a little bit quicker soon. I'm going to go ahead and decrease the RPMs. Now that we're intercepting that glide path, let's extend some flaps. Slow the aircraft down a bit. We're a little high on the path. The plane should compensate. The autopilot should compensate. Drop us a little faster till we're back on the path. And once it does, I'm going to do this final stage of flaps here. I might wait till I'm a little closer to the runway. Looks like I'll be exiting right. And maybe halfway down the runway. I think I'm going to skip full flaps. I'm just going to slow the aircraft down to about 60 knots. Land with 2 stages of flaps instead of 3. Alright, we're at 60 knots. I'm going to give a little more power once it's right on to maintain that. Looking good so far. I do not know the MDA for this runway. I'll probably just wait till I feel comfortable disengaging the autopilot and taking over. Because we are where we are, I'm not getting an approach plate on the GTN-750 as I would as if we were flying in the US. So given that there's nothing in our way, everything being clear, the MDA for this runway is probably relatively low. So I'll probably disengage at or below 1,000 feet. Autopilot disengaged to get a little more power to maintain 60 knots. Trying to get a feel for the winds before I get to the runway. It seems like we're getting blown over to the right a little bit. So I'm giving it some left rudder, a little more power. Traffic. Flaps up. Well, this is a big airport. Not a bad landing, pretty smooth. Not sure if I got my nose right on the line or not. I'll just park it over here next to this, between these two aircrafts, that one there and that one there. Oh, there's a nice line for us. All right. Brakes. So I nosed down on the line and kind of ran off it a little bit. Not a big deal. Excuse me. I wasn't expecting this airport to be so big, but it was a pleasant surprise in comparison to the other one that we flew from, KOLS. I do apologize for this flight taking so long. I did want to fly it in Cessna as opposed to in a jet, but there was no other airport in between from where we took off from and this one here, so I didn't really have much of a choice if I wanted to fly the Cessna to go for a video that was going to take over an hour long. But thank you for flying with me, and I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.